How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm going to be talking about something that's been kind of on my mind for a bit ever since I first heard of it, and that is, could a Friday the 13th found footage movie work? And I guess I should give a little bit of background as to why I'm even thinking about that. After the Friday the 13th reboot, a bunch of new ideas for a 13th Friday the 13th film were floating around. A bunch of sort of, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks type of deal. One of them was a Friday the 13th found footage film. Now, obviously, this never got made, and then eventually we would get Rings coming out and the studio would panic and put the film on hold because one horror movie failed, maybe all of them will, which is a stupid decision. And then after that, we've been in Friday the 13th legal battle things for years and years and years, and they say they're finally going to make another one, but I'll believe it when I actually see it. But anyway, it's that brief moment in the story when they talked about maybe doing a Friday the 13th found footage film. I mean, I guess it's the kind of idea I can see a studio making. What's a popular trend? Found footage. What property do we have a license to that's horror? Friday the 13th. Mash them together. But it always just seemed odd because, Friday the 13th really wasn't a found footage thing, but ever since I heard them saying that idea, it's been kicking around in my head. What would that movie have looked like, and could it have worked? And I guess with this sort of just mental spitballing and focusing and trying to figure that out, I guess I should want to clarify. My question is could a Friday the 13th found footage movie work? Not would a Friday the 13th found footage movie have worked? Because after having thought about it for a while, I can see some ideas, and I can see that there is a way to do it, and that it might actually look really cool. So I think it could be done, but would the movie that we've gotten worked? Probably not. It probably would have been a lazy cash grab amid a lot of the Paranormal Activity clones. It probably would have been a bad but kind of weird entry in the Friday the 13th series, but I don't know, maybe it'd have a little bit of a cult following. Overall, I don't think that it would have worked, but thinking about it, I do think that it could have worked. And I guess one of those things is, I was on YouTube, right? And I was thinking about all the different horror footage there, and one thing I absolutely like is those trail camera videos. Basically, you leave a camera in the woods and it's designed to see what animals show up, And every now and then, people will catch some creepy stuff on there. And I mean, I'm not dumb. I know a good chunk of that is fake. Still looks scary, though. And the whole middle of the woods, late at night type deal. Imagine if Jason Voorhees showed up on a trail camera. That would be creepy. And that's really what got my head thinking about this, It really does combine the two very big popular American found footage movies. Blair Witch, the idea was there's something in the woods hunting us. That's a very Jason Voorhees idea. But Paranormal Activity was all about these wide shots. And imagine if, in the distance in your footage, kind of like the trail cam idea, imagine if you caught Jason Voorhees in the background of a big wide shot. That would be cool. And you could do a few different things, You could have Camp Crystal Lake security footage checking in on all these different places, especially because if you look back at the original Friday the 13th, it's a wide, big area, and checking back on all these different locations, different cabins, the lake with the canoes, the archery course. It would be kind of fun to get to know Crystal Lake as a location and keep checking back in on all these different places and trying to see where Jason could be. Now, I guess the elephant in the room is when you think about where all the other footage would come from, especially character-motivated stuff, there would be a strong temptation from a studio to have teens on social media. And oh my gosh, that could kill it. Now, don't get me wrong, there is somewhat of a parallel between the 80s kids messing around, goofing off, and how young teens do that stuff nowadays, but film it and put it out there on the internet. I'm not saying there's not a parallel, and it would be an interesting idea if you went kind of VHS style and had kids filming themselves doing stupid stuff in the woods. The key is to not do that too terribly much and to not make the kids too terribly annoying or stereotypes of influencers and young people. Just hold back on that, because that could kill it if you go too far. But the thing that I think would work, and I think would be a good pitch for this film, is reopening Camp Crystal Lake. The idea that it had been a long time since the last movie, and young kids may not know the Jason Voorhees legend, and the idea that also a lot of the films don't even take place on Camp Crystal Lake. A lot of them are in the Lake House district or at a new camp. I would like to bring it back to the original setting. Opening the camp up again is a cool idea, and it would be a solid reason for people to record more stuff. Hey, we're opening up the camp, let's document it. I think that would be a good idea. They could be, shooting a documentary style footage, talking to the people involved in the process of opening up the camp. Again, very much like part one, and it'd be an excuse to get closer shots of the characters that aren't just the teens filming themselves with their phone. It's an interesting idea, and I think would work as a solid framing mechanism. So that's where I would like to see the movie start out. They're documenting themselves opening up the camp, but there's other cameras, the security, the trail cams, the teenagers filming themselves, and all this was found, of course, after the massacre. Maybe you could frame it like, I think it was called Evidence, that horror movie where they found the aftermath and the police had picked up all the cameras and were trying to piece it together. That would be cool. I do think the Friday the 13th cops are an interesting character that don't get talked about enough. The idea that this stuff is going on in your backyard and you don't know, too much about what it is or what to do. I think it'd be cool if they were piecing through the evidence and they were the framing mechanism. So overall, I do think there is a movie here. It is something that I do think could work. But as it stands now, I think it's been too long. This movie idea works more when we've gotten a bunch of other Friday the 13th movies, and the idea of shaking things up and doing them more as a spin-off really does make more sense in that regard. It's just been so long since we had a Friday the 13th movie, I don't think people would want it to be something so different. It's been so long, we just want good old Jason back the way he was, and if you want to change anything, make it gruffer, tougher, nastier, and more horrific. I would recommend just get Damien Leone. He made the Terrifier movies. Get him to make the new Friday the 13th film, and just do what you did before, but make it bigger. That's what I'd say would appease most fans at this point. If we came back to the movies, it's what I would like to see. But I think with a found footage film, I think this idea is a good opportunity for the fan film community. It's a place where I could really see this idea working, because Friday the 13th does have a huge fan film community. Like, with the lawsuits and getting like over a decade with no movies, there's been a ton of fan films. They're relatively cheap to shoot anyway. It's not like Nightmare where there's a ton of special effects involved. And found footage movies are cheap as well. So even though I don't think that this could really work as a movie now, I think we could get a really killer fan film out of it. I mean, Never Hike Alone, one of the best Friday the 13th fan films, did have sections of it that were found footage. So yeah, I think there is a way that the found footage idea could work, but I don't know if a studio would do it right. Overall, I just wanted to say that I do think Friday the 13th found footage could be a cool idea. You know, and I don't think it should be dismissed as much as, you know, when that idea was initially pitched, boy, everyone in the horror community was like, don't do this. And yeah, they would have messed it up. But I just want to say that there is something there, and there is a potential good movie, even if we probably wouldn't have got it. But if it panned out, it is something I would be really interested in seeing. But yeah, kind of just in the hopeful dreams territory. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Friday the 13th playlist. I've talked about a lot of the movies. I think there's at least the first 8 in there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Friday the 13th playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.